as far as the discrepancies, we've seen a few cases where families were told that a first autopsy was done. Our pathologists came in to do the second autopsy and then realized that no autopsy was performed at all.
Wow.
So
What? Sorry.
Yeah, in a few, that I believe at least over three.
Over three, yes.
Over three cases
So
that has occurred.
state violence stole their loved one, and
The state covers it up.
state covers it up. No investigation. No.
Nope.
Imagine no reckoning for the families. Wow. That's
Right.
All right. That's
And for
a
it
huge
to happen
discrepancy.
more than once on top.
Right.
It happened
Right.
once to begin with, but that it happened more than once. And we know that these cases are occurring on a much larger scale. There's been over 1,000 deaths in the last year that occurred in these cases. So with our small subset of cases that we've done, the fact that we've seen that many times is horrible.
Hello and welcome to the Know Your Rights Camp podcast. I'm Dee Barbadillo.
And I'm Amir Whitaker, and we're here with Nicole Martin and Grizel Garcia of the Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Initiative.
Thanks so much for
Hello.
having us.
Thanks for joining, and thanks for the amazing, incredible work that y'all do in this initiative that we're going to talk more about in this episode.
Oh,
Thank
we're
you.
excited. We appreciate the intros.
So start us off. Why was this initiative created? What is it about? How does it help families? Give us the whole thing.
All right, we'd love to. So we are the Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Initiative. We launched our program in February of 2022. Since then, we have served 94 families. And so what we do is we provide free, independent second autopsies for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to an in-custody death, which includes police-related deaths as well. And so when we talk about the creation of why we needed this initiative, Colin realized that he wanted to be able to provide direct support to victims' families who are suffering this type of loss in such a tragic way. And so he learned a few things. One, the high cost of having an independent autopsy. An autopsy can vary on cost, but can cost between $10,000 to $15,000, including transportation. So it's a very expensive process. And so we alleviate this financial burden entirely. Colin understands that everyone deserves to know how their loved one passed, and we shouldn't have to pay a large expense to just get answers. So we wanted to alleviate that financial burden entirely. Then we also found that there are issues within the autopsy process on its own. There's a lot of issues of bias that can occur. Oftentimes there can be a sheriff coroner's office, so you have police investigating a police death and determining what the cause of death is.
I was going to say bias is a nice way to put it. There's some
Yeah.
straight up
Yeah.
lying on these
Yes.
documents.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Griselda works directly with the families, and we've started tracking all the discrepancies that we've seen. So I'll let her kind of talk a little bit more about that portion. But there's also the issue of use of faulty forensics as well. So we wanted to make sure that we had our own independent team of pathologists who can perform these autopsies, use a high level of forensic procedures, and that we trust to be objective within the process. Because what we're looking to do here is provide objectivity within the process and transparency, because our primary goal is to give the victims the truth about what happened to their loved ones. And I think when they lose someone in such a tragic way from someone that we're supposed to be able to trust, they're rightfully so mistrusting. So we spend a lot of time on trying to be a trusted source where victims' families feel comfortable coming to us. And I'll let Griselda speak a little bit more about her experience with the families as well too, and why we need our program.
Yeah, so I am the program manager, and when families are requesting to receive these second autopsies, I am the one that will look into their case, essentially. We provide with the full performance of the second autopsy and delegate the transportation. So we're in communication with the family and making sure that they have also a space to grieve and allow us to get that second autopsy. There's been many discrepancies that we've seen, and just even giving them that information, I've seen a lot of families just having like a breath of relief to know that there are people who care about their loved one, because they feel that they have not even been seen while their loved one has been in custody, or the interaction with the police.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say discrepancies is a nice word. There's been some lies
Yes, yeah.
in these documents, because the outcomes, these documents, these autopsies influence the outcomes of cases, and whether police are forced to pay millions of dollars or are found guilty of different things. So it's a lot. And would you all be able to share like maybe some example? And first of all, 94 autopsies in 2.5 years is
Yeah.
remarkable. So congratulations on that. Like I literally remember when you started, Nicole,
Yes.
and there was
Yeah.
none had happened, and,
Yeah.
and you would like just describing the program. You know, Know Your Rights Camp was describing the program. I was just like, wow, I literally know folks who need this,
Yeah.
and this fulfills such a gap. So 2.5 years later to have almost 100 autopsies done is remarkable. Can you share an example of one of them or some specific
Absolutely.
details?
Yes, we appreciate that. We are definitely grateful for the families that we've been able to serve. It's unfortunate that we even need this program to exist. I think we'd love to live in a world where these police-related deaths are not occurring, where in custody deaths we can trust the first autopsy to be done correctly. But with the discrepancies that we've seen, we know and can confirm why our program is needed. So we've seen several discrepancies. We've seen also lies that were being told from on all stages of the process, whether that's lies that the families were being told by police, whether that's lies being told by the medical examiner or coroner's office. So
Who are also under the pressure from the sheriff sometimes, right?
Exactly. So oftentimes there can be the police that were involved in the killing could be involved in the same room when the autopsy is being conducted. So that's a lot of these police departments have direct ties with the coroner or medical examiner's office because they're still in a government capacity working for the state. So there is a lot of bias, definitely. As far as the discrepancies, we've seen a few cases where families were told that a first autopsy was done. Our pathologists came in to do the second autopsy and then realized that no autopsy was performed at all.
Wow.
So our
What? Sorry.
Yeah, in a few, that I believe at least over three.
Over 3, yes.
Over 3 cases
So
that has occurred.
state violence stole their loved one, and
The state covers it up.
state covers it up. No investigation. No.
Nope.
Imagine no reckoning for the families. Wow. That's
Right.
All right. That's
And
a
for it
huge
to happen
discrepancy.
more than once on top.
Right.
It happened to happen
Right.
once to begin with, but that happened more than once. And we know that these cases are occurring on a much larger scale. There's been over 1,000 deaths in the last year that occurred in these cases. So with our small subset of cases that we've done, the fact that we've seen that many times is horrible and it's horrific. And the families, how their pathologists knew that no autopsy was performed is because there were no incision marks on the body whatsoever. So
Blatant.
they're able to know that no autopsy was done at all. And then you have the families being told, oh, an autopsy was done, the cause of death is this, and we are finding out that there is no autopsy done to begin with, which is truly awful. We've also seen other discrepancies, clear discrepancies between the first autopsy report and the second autopsy report done by our pathologists. One in particular, the first medical examiner who did the first autopsy ruled that the cause of death was due to a natural cause. Our pathologist who performed the second autopsy found that there were several wounds and injuries, and this person died being strangled. And so that happens often as well, too, is they are intentionally omitting information as well. So we see the discrepancies are on a huge spectrum because sometimes it is a direct lie. Sometimes it's leaving critical information out as well, too.
I mean,
So-
that's the difference between someone being murdered and someone dying. That's a really big
Yeah.
discrepancy to, you know.
Exactly. And that's what we've seen about these autopsies is that we're even bringing a basis to even bring a lawsuit. And as I'm sure you guys know as well, these cases, these police-related death cases are difficult to win in litigation. That's why we see so often officers not being held accountable for their actions. And so these cases are already difficult to take enough. So what we're doing is we're providing a basis to even bring a lawsuit. And there have been lawsuits that have been brought based off of our autopsy findings, and 2 of those leading to over $100 million lawsuits, and then also cases brought against the jail where their loved one died in custody, and even a Department of Justice investigation coming from one of the case reviews that we did.
In
for an
just 2.5
autopsy.
years, y'all are already
Yeah.
creating that much.
That
ripple
was the
effect.
question I was going to ask: is what happens next?
Yeah, we'd hope to have investigations nationwide into these departments, especially when we're getting consistent deaths occurring in certain jails or in custody. These jails and prisons and detention centers need to be looked in more carefully. If people are consistently dying while in police custody, what is the problem here? And we also see the average age of people dying from our program are in their early 30s. And we know that this is still happening on a wide spectrum, but that's still a very young age to be dying. So and a lot of our cases have been Black men. So why are Black men dying at such a young age while in police custody? These are the questions that we have to ask.
I think we had a most recent case where it was an off-duty officer. And again, the family was in distraught because it was an interaction that the off-duty officer had with this decedent. and they were told it was one gunshot, and it come to find out it was with the second autopsy. The pathologist found out there was multiple gunshots, fatal gunshots. So again, in this process, we're also, like I mentioned, like families are grieving. And so for them to feel like they got a little more information, they're constantly saying like, thank you for at least letting me know what fully caused the death. But again, we don't do the cause of death until after our pathologist has received the first medical examiner's report. And then from there, they will evaluate the medical examiner's report and then their findings and then determine a cause of death. But just giving the families at least some information always is a relief. But yeah, we've had a lot. I started in January of this year, 9 months in, and I've seen a lot, but I know that that's not new. I come from a background where I've seen it firsthand and I've heard stories. So I'm just happy to be able to support families in this space.
If there are people listening who think, hey, I think my family, someone I know's family, should reach out, how can they do that?
Of course, so you can find our intake request form at the knowyourrightscamp.org. The families just have to do a brief intake, and then I'll be following up with the next steps. So yeah, you can find it on our website.
And we urge people to reach out to us as soon as possible. So I would say, you mentioned if someone thinks that they qualify, we recommend just submitting the request as soon as possible. Anyone can complete the request on behalf of their loved one. That could be a family member, that could be an attorney, that could be a close friend. And right now we're just trying to seek as much information that they have available, and then they will follow up with more detailed kind of screening questionnaire to get more information available. But we definitely recommend people to reach out to us sooner than later, because we also want to perform the autopsy as soon as possible. So timing is definitely of the essence in these cases. So we, want people to spread the word that our initiative exists. I think a common thing that we've seen from families is no one is ever expecting it to be their family. We know that this is an issue, but no one's ever expecting them to be in the situation to need it. And I think it's just having that awareness that this is happening in our community, and it's continuing to happen, and it's gotten worse. And it hasn't gotten any better. It truly has gotten worse. So we really want people to know that we care about their loved one, and we want to get them the answers that they deserve.
And so what, other than spreading the word, is there another call to action here? What can people do in their cities if I feel like a lot of people are hearing this maybe for the first time, or are hearing an update from the last time they heard this, and now they're saying, I need to do something. What can they do?
Yeah, I think it's also continuing to understand the root of the issue. I think it's educating yourself on why we even need this program, educating yourself on how these police-related deaths are occurring in your community, what have the outcomes been, where is the problem most happening. So I think it's kind of staying informed in your community, where are these deaths most occurring, who is it affecting the most. So I think it's like having that awareness, so taking that independent action to do your research, and then also to tell people about it as well. I think that a lot of times we have great resources, but if our community doesn't know about the resource, then we have a gap. So it's also having these conversations about this issue with your family, with your friends. So that's an instant thing that we are requesting people to do. I think also we're always we provide these services nationwide. So if a death occurred in the US anywhere, we will be able to take that case on. So we're always looking to build partnerships as well. So what we're looking to do is also build connections with other forensic pathologists nationwide. So if anyone has any referrals or is a forensic pathologist, we would love to add them to our forensic pathologist panel as we are trying to increase the services and the scope of coverage that we can provide. In order to perform an autopsy, the pathologist has to be licensed within that state. So we're looking to have more states covered through our initiative as well. And I would say also within that also goes to the process of transportation as well. So if a death occurs in a state where the pathologist is not licensed, typically we'll have to conduct transportation coordination to transport someone's loved ones to the state where one of our pathologists is licensed and then back. And so we're also working with funeral homes. So also if anyone also has any recommendations of funeral homes who would either allow an autopsy to be performed there or who can assist us within the transportation, that would be a lot easier on our end as well. And I think that we're just looking to connect with other community organizers, people in our community. We do need to get the word out about our initiative. We have the capacity to continue to serve our community, and we just really need a all hands on deck effort, and we need everyone talking about the initiative. So when hopefully no one listening is ever going to be in this situation. But if they are or know someone who is, that they know that we're top of mind. We hope it becomes more automatic where a police-related death occurs, an in-custody death occurs, and it's instant. They reach out to the Autopsy Initiative. And that only comes with becoming so well-known in our community that everyone knows and is talking about it. So I really think it is a community effort of getting the service out because we want people to know before they're in that situation. And again, hopefully they never are.
Indeed, hopefully they never are. And thank you so much for the tremendous transformational work that you do. That's literally rewriting the history that's been told for so many people's families and loved ones. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you guys for having us.
Of course. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to watch us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Follow us on social media at Your Rights Camp, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Know Your Rights Camp. For more information, please visit knowyourrightscamp.org. See you soon.